three things that we've kind of definitely done a lot better in Bach is there was a lot of, at the beginning, kind of towards the first performance that we had, the one festival, there was still kind of a lot, I'm noticing kind of in the guys' tenor basses, there was a lot of butter, so kind of confusion between what notes is what. It was just basically there were some people who are really into it, really retaining well, and throughout the entire song, you could really hear that their pitch is pretty spot on and their accuracy is pretty good. But then there were just kind of other people that were like somewhat below the pitch or basically not trying as hard. And as more and more people became familiar with that song, it got a lot better at the league, and no accuracy was better. I was happy with that. Another thing that we've gotten better is pronunciation. There was kind of the same whole butter aspect, where I was just like, what's that word supposed to be? Because I know it's like hallelujah, or it's alles, or lobe, but it's supposed to be lobe, alles, and then halle, and the halle. It kind of was a confusion between halle and halli towards the beginning, and we decided on halli, but then we switched to halle. But other than that, there was some pronunciation errors that we were kind of having some trouble with, and that got better at league. And I was pretty happy with that. I was definitely like, oh, I know what you're saying now. That was good. And then kind of the last thing we've done better is, so after the clinic with Mr. Long, when he was talking about the string of pearls for all the eighth notes, that was pretty good too. Kind of all the sections that were basses also started to incorporate that a lot. A lot of the other sections incorporated that, and that was good to see. I really like what Mr. Long said about that, because it was just so much more emphasis on the whole message of the song, and I mean the whole dance style of the song. A lot of people say that it was either Bach or Vivaldi were kind of the composers back in that time where they had the most dance-like to their music. And with that string of pearls, that really is what differentiates it between dancing and just singing notes. Like, you can dance like this, and you can call that dancing. But if you dance like this, it's not really dancing. And now some things that are still needing to happen by state is kind of the main thing right now is the difference between lobe and lobe. The schwa, I'm needing to hear a lot more of that schwa. Because there was definitely a lot of confusion. I was hearing some people around me where I was singing, it was like, oh no, it's lobe, not lobe. I want to hear lobe more. Lobe more. More schwa. And then more intentional in how you do it. So don't go lobe, just lobe. Run way more in that, and just way more intentional in that. So this is kind of my request to you, just see how much you can realize that you're singing lobe, because there were some sections where it's like, oh wait, I'm just so used to singing lobe there, I didn't know it was supposed to be lobe. Just try to find those sections where you're saying lobe rather than lobe. Then another thing that really needs to happen is unstressing the yaws. Like, you gotta do it. That helps with the dance feel, because then yaw, that's kind of the most powerful symbol or syllable that the human voice has, because your mouth is the most open, and it's the most, how do I say this? You can have the most volume with your mouth being that much open for the ah. We need to not have it be that American in a sense. I know Brooks talked about that a lot. Just more German, more hallelujah. You could almost omit it, and that would help a lot. I mean, of course, it's still going to be there because there's going to be someone who doesn't want to omit it, and it's like that's why he always says like seniors omit it, because then everyone else is going to be like sort of a lot more quiet. And so that's kind of what it does, because seniors tend to be the kind of the body of the choir. They're the most experienced. But anyways, the yaw has to be unstressed, because otherwise we're not going to get that dance feel. So you gotta unstress yaw, and then like I was saying, in your practice sessions, you've got to be intentional with how you do that. Find those sections where it's like, oh hey, I was supposed to unstress yaw there, so unstress yaw. That is the most important thing as of right now. And then one more thing I have to be critical on is just tone quality, I would say. I'm hearing a lot of different voices, especially in the bass baritone section, where some people are just I want to go to Safeway, I want to eat lunch, when is this over? Yeah, care more. Just don't get lazy when you're singing this song. This song is joyful, and this song has the most energy, in a happy sense. Has the most energy, just energy for the sake of energy, not energy towards something, not energy marching, not energy being angry, vibere. This has the most energy and just uplifting. And I mean, that's why Brooks always says the face, because I mean, the more energy you have, the more naturally your face is gonna brighten up. I mean, something you're excited about, something that's gonna happen that you're just looking forward to, your face is you're gonna smile more, you're gonna have more energy, you're probably gonna move your arms and legs a lot more. And that's what this song is. We need a lot more energy in all of our runs. Like, make this song, have your personality come into the music, not just sing, where it's like, singing is not my personality, my personality is myself, I do something else. No, singing is your full personality and your full effort put into it, and all your energy put into it as well. Singing is you. Your voice is different from everybody else, yet it combines with everybody else, and it is unique in its own way, yet it comes together in the full choir sound. Putting yourself into the music, having the image of you in the music is just how I figured out how to feel this song. I mean, if you're just putting a little bit of yourself into this music and not really trying that hard, you're going to sound like be happy in the music. Be energetic. Because then pitch is going to come a lot more naturally, and you're not going to sound stupid. Don't sound like that. Care more. And forgive fast, too. I will forgive fast, but I'm saying care more. Care more about Bach, because he's happy. Like Misha said, make Bach your favorite, because Bach is probably my favorite, other than Otebie, in my opinion. Bach is very, very amazing, and I could talk about him all day if I wanted to. But hey, care more. And unstress yaw. Vipere. To the Viper. 3 things we've done pretty good on this song, and definitely have gotten a lot better. First thing being pitch. A lot of times during some of the sections with baritones and basses, there were a lot of sections where they had no idea what their pitches were, and we're struggling a bit, especially between major seconds, and then perfect fourths, perfect fifths, and kind of those intervals. A lot of it, I was like not sure what it's supposed to sound like, but that gotten a lot better. I was definitely able to tell the difference between perfect fifths and perfect fourths, and it's like, hey, that part harmonized there. Second thing was chords locking. So every now and then they would have everybody hold over a chord, in a big chord. So especially, I'm talking mainly towards a Vos, the Vos kind of, you know what I'm talking about. That big chord, I think it's an F sharp major from what I remember. That chord is an F sharp augmented, I believe, and kind of towards the beginning, I wasn't sure it was supposed to sound like that, and it just wasn't. It wasn't quite locking how I wanted it to be. That got a lot better. That got a lot better with kind of fixing a lot of the problems that we're having with baritones. Baritones, I think, has the hardest part in one of these songs, and kind of fixing some of those problems with baritones, I think, definitely helped with those chord structures. Mainly, like, I remember one of the judges were saying, I think for the festival, or actually no, it might have been for league, but it was saying that, like, he needs the fifths to ring a lot better. And that's definitely something that we've fixed, of course, and it has been doing a lot better. So overall, harmony has been doing a lot better in this song, and it's been locking better. So I'm starting to notice that. Then kind of the third thing we've done better is expressing what the emotion was supposed to be. I really like what Carson, excuse me, similar names. I really like what Carson said, the rehearsal right before league. He was saying that we need to make the one section more exhausted, more tired, and more disappointed as of, like, why are you doing this, rather than stop doing this. The eyebrows kind of being a lot more sad at that part, a lot more, not really remorseful, but change of emotions there. That contrast was a lot better. Kind of knowing what we're supposed to sound like and what message we're supposed to convey and when. I could tell that a lot better in our league performance. And another really cool thing, kind of on that note, is the seemingly section. Oh, it was pretty evil. And I like that. That is the most evil thing I've heard in choir all the years I've been in choir, which is only 2, so. But I've heard some pretty evil stuff before that, and this was more evil. This is more evil than Armando's Rumba from jazz band people who know what that song is. That song was pretty evil. More evil than jazz band. Anything we played in jazz band or band, it's pretty evil. And I like what we did there. Some things I still have to be critical about, though, is that there is still, kind of as I'm talking about, there's still some butter that I'm noticing between notes, and a lot of that, or no, just like as people singing, there's still some butter between, like, people not quite getting their part exactly, or just getting lazy with their part. I'm still noticing a bit of that. A lot of it comes from pretty much not doing what, what's her name? What Kyle's sister said. Whatever her name is. A lot of it is kind of just having more face, more aura, being able to do that better, and kind of relishing in the snake motion, doing that a lot more, being confident in that, and knowing that everyone's doing it, and if you're not doing it, then you kind of look weird. Knowing what you're doing there and being confident in what you're singing is just going to make you sing so much better. I remember Brooke saying, singing, you have to put on a persona, because singing is almost like embracing the flaws we have as humans, embracing it, and yet being better than it. And it's kind of like both worlds, of like both the imperfect human world and the perfect godly world. It's kind of embracing them both. And to be able to sing well, you have to be able to kind of forget about stuff that you might think about on a daily basis, whether it be like being hungry, being stressed, not having enough sleep, having to be in Smucker pre-calculus. I'm not even in that class. All stressors like that can deter you from singing well. And it's important to know what your role is in this choir, and choir kind of makes you a better person because of that. So doing that a lot better is going to help your pitch, believe it or not. And you're going to do the motions a lot more. You're going to hit the sticks a lot more. You're going to get into the groove a lot better, and that's what's going to make you sing the song better. Especially with the whole thing that Mr. Long was saying, the psychic distance, not getting too close to being angry, but
still being pretty angry, feeling the warmth. I remember him saying about that. Another thing that Vipere needs some work is, I would say, more dynamics. We're needing a lot more of those, because I remember, especially at the end, with the huge crescendo towards the end until we get to the final number where the do do quo mo do. So we don't point at that. Da 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 yu di chi again. That part at the end, the crescendo before that in the Si Mi Li section. I don't remember what measure it was, but you know what I'm talking about. That part needs more as well. Because that part is supposed to build up like crazy, and I could just tell in the way that Becky wrote it, and it wasn't. It built up. It built up in league performance, but I wanted to build up even more. I'm needing more dynamics, and especially I remember not in that section, but in the they vo beast. Whenever you sing that, so that's usually Barry bass, and sometimes tenors as well. Actually, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's Barry and bass. Each time they sing those need a lot more dynamic contrast. Even in just like the one measure that you have it, it's like instead of they vo beast. I remember Brooks was talking, and it needs to sound like they vo beast. Whatever it was, it needs to have more difference. It needs to have more shape and more waves to it. Otherwise, it's a bit boring. Kind of simple musicality 101. More phrasing. Just more phrasing overall in those sections. Needing more of that and more crescendos whenever there is crescendos, because Becky was very intentional in how she wrote this. Then lastly, what I wanted to talk about is that we just need more volume from bass too. I know that's my section, that's Kyle's section, that's Sherm's section, that's Noah's section, that's Joseph's section. We don't have very many people, is my point. And we're kind of losing power, but baritones is overpowering bass too. And of course, I mean, maybe some of my upper friends, soprano, altos, maybe you guys can agree with me too that we need more cambi behind the bass here. Because I remember Carter was kind of chewing on us the rehearsal before league. It's like, oh, you guys are just singing low notes, cool, instead of oh, low notes. We're needing way more from that. Oh, how's it going? We're needing more low notes. And then to have Barry, because Barry makes bass sound cool, but having enough bass to where Barry can make bass sound cool and not overpower it. We're just needing more depth to it. And then kind of the same thing goes for tenor voices too. Sometimes in some tenor lines, I'm hearing a bit of like, I'm not sure what a good example would be, but I'm hearing a bit of kind of harsh tone quality and a little bit of like that's a dramatic, but I'm needing less of that. I'm wanting more rounder sound, because I know, I mean, this is a pretty scary song. This is a bright song, but I'm needing more depth, especially in higher tenor voices, because sometimes I could hear it's like, oh, it's high schoolers singing it rather than, oh, those are men singing it. Kind of some simple things. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about, but I'm needing more depth in tenors. Out of my way, goat. More depth in men usually, because uppers are doing a very good job with tone quality. You guys have good leaders. We have good leaders as well. But what the things that Sarah and Misha talk about are pretty spot on with tone quality. And then they're talking about how you should sound on Tebier, how you should sound on Vipere, and even the clinician was saying that we should sound different for all of our songs, because Mr. Long was saying we sound very Russian in Bach, but we should sound Russian in Tebier and German in Bach. And not sure what nationality we're supposed to sound like in Vipere. Even if Vipere was made in America, don't sound American. We're singing Latin. So deeper tone quality in the men. That's what I'm trying to get at. And I think that uppers are doing a lot better at their tone quality than guys are as of right now. but we can fix that. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Be Parade. Honestly, this piece has come a long way, and I'm happy that we're getting to sing it. We're lucky that we get to sing it. To be able to convey those emotions and have those kind of chords where nobody else has ever heard those kind of chords before, to have a song like that is pretty remarkable, and especially because it's one of our alumni composing it for us. We're in a good time and place right now for music, for choir, for anything. This piece, in singing it, rehearsing it, kind of first bringing it into the choir world, this piece has been a pretty emotional journey, and it's good emotions. I'm very happy we get to sing something Russian, kind of as I've been going along my choir journey. I've seemed to kind of favorite Russian music, and it holds near and dear to my heart. Mostly just because the style in which they write it, because, I mean, Russia, dealing with the whole USSR thing at the time, Pavel Sheshnikov really kind of had to just design their own music since they cut off all the imports. I mean, this is what Ian's been telling me since he took a music history class. He's told me that Russia cut off all their music imports, and they kind of had to start, like, basically divergent evolution, whatever it is. They had to evolve on their own from the classical period onward, and they kind of almost generated their own music, and it's kind of cool to see, like, some classical elements, but then it's like, whoa, like, I thought we were in E flat major, now we're in G melodic minor. Pretty sweet stuff, pretty cool stuff. And Russian music, it changes emotions super fast, and different tonalities can just change at the snap of a finger, and it's pretty amazing how it can also still have the same feel to it even after changing the tonality, just a complete different direction. It can still have the same message, and then at the end just come back in all the glory ever. Otebie is a very glorified song, and kind of glorifies the womb as a holy place, like Leo's been talking about in his speech. The womb is definitely a holy place, because, I mean, God made it so that babies can be born, and God has a purpose for every single baby that is born. And the womb is a very sacred place, and especially in the context of Mary birthing Jesus. That's kind of the center of this piece. But anyways, my heart goes out to Otebie, and probably my favorite song of our set, to be completely honest. But anyways, 3 things that I think we've done well on this song, especially coming towards after our league performance. I think we were really able to retain pitch well. I mean, I've been on a lot of different people about pitch in this song because it's so easy to go flat. It's so easy to just get in the moment, kind of relax, breathe, and then once you start singing, once you're relaxed, maybe you're relaxed a bit too much, because then your pitch relaxes down like 30 cents flat. So overall, there was enough energy in the room to where it wouldn't go flat and it'd still have the same ring to it. So it did not go very flat. Another thing was that, like, what I was really happy with is that basses and berries really kind of held their position in all the chords, because, as Mr. Long was saying, bass is the big cake on the bottom. Tenors are the chocolate, altos are the whipped cream, and sopranos are the cherry. We really kind of built that pyramid up, and it sounded like a tone pyramid. Didn't branch off into any other shape that sometimes it has branched off into. That cake tasted really good. Biting into that, I could taste cherry, pretty good. Whipped cream, ooh, all right. Chocolate, yes. And then cake, yes. I could taste the cake, and I was very happy about that. overall resonance of when we were singing Otebie was very, very spot on, and I was happy to hear that. And then, third thing that we did well, I was really impressed with tenors on this one, especially towards the beginning. How Mr. Long was talking about modulating instead of oh is supposed to be E, the E like the I like E rather than because it started to sound like that a few times. It's like, oh, tenors, that doesn't sound very good. Sounds like a few people are just like, it sounded like it were too high for them. And like I was saying with Vipere, it just sounded like high schoolers for a minute. But then once we hit that I vowel, so much more comfortable, fixes all that problems. It's like, yes, tenors. And then like I was saying, like I was kind of yapping about right before league, that I want to relish in that jacuzzi, and I did, because tenors helped me. Tenors added that chocolate very, very well, and I like chocolate. So I could talk on and on about cake. Cake is so good. But then there are some still things we still need to work on, though. But I mean, Otebie is kind of our peak piece as of right now. One thing we need to work on, kind of first and foremost, I remember Maddie was making a very big deal about sopranos on measure 42, I believe, the back page of the song. I remember Maddie talking about that. I forget how it goes, but instead of going down to the, it's supposed to be. So going down to the F natural, like for a while, I didn't even know that it was supposed to do that, because it just sounded like an F sharp the entire time. Which still works, surprisingly. But when it got to that point, it sounded a little bit like, it was like, oh, this is the part she was talking about. It's scary. I still heard a bit of confusion between the F and the F sharp. It didn't sound its fullest. It's like, oh, not quite. That's not too much of a problem, because it was like, okay, they know what to do now, but it's like, I could use a little bit more confidence there for sopraninos. Another thing that we do need to work on is that, yes, forget his name, Raymond. What Raymond was talking about was very good, that we need to shape through more stuff and kind of know the direction of the phrase a little bit more when he had us point with the fingers, because it did kind of like basically all high school ensembles, so not even choir, like band, they all struggle with being stagnant in their dynamics. It's very, very easy to do that, especially when you're singing and you're kind of tired. It's like, I can't give any more. It's like, oh, I'm running out of breath, I can't give any more dynamics. It's very easy to do that, because you have to try more, you have to try harder, put a little bit more physical effort into doing that. But as Raymond was saying, that's a very important key facet, that we do need to shape through our notes a little bit better. But we still did a pretty good job on that. But of course, there is so much more room for dynamic improvement. And then kind of the last thing is, it's kind of on that line, really. The last thing I would say is that we need to be able to crescendo more at the very, very end, because it's like we held out that E flat major chord. It's a boom, boom, is loud, and then boom, really, really loud. The final like crescendo in the last 10%. That was still really, really cool. But as soon as we got to the last crescendo, as soon as he started going to the last 10%, and sending us off into the heavens, right before that, I heard a bunch of people just take a breath. It's like, oh, I'm out of breath. Now I'm here. Now I'm good. And then, but I heard like a lot of people drop out. And, of course, I mean, it lost its energy. It's like, oh, okay, we're kind of doing it. Okay. But a bunch of people breathed. So, that's kind of one thing, kind of still on the lines of being able to shape through phrases. It's just have enough air for that point, and then sneak in your breath a little bit better, maybe a bit earlier, because I know he kind of held it for a bit longer. It's just not breaking when we increase the final 10%. And then also one thing, which is kind of cool here, I can come over here and show you what that technique reminds me of is with an organ. So how organs work is that it's not just a keyboard. It's you have pedals and you have 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 different manuals, which are the keyboards on the what's called the console. So basically this thing. But on an organ, you also have these foot pedals that control dynamics. Since like a piano can't do that. Piano, you can't really control dynamics while holding out a chord. You only can control dynamics by striking different stuff. With an organ, it's very much different. And there's a thing called a swell pedal and a crescendo pedal. It's actually not what you think it is. A crescendo pedal, as you press it down with your foot, the more you go this way, the more pipes it adds, and the more different sounds and textures it adds to it, and the higher overtones it adds. I could get into it. It's very nerdy. It's a very cool effect that it does. But it crescendos. It adds more pipes onto the sound, and then if you pull it back, it takes away some pipes. Speaking in context of a pipe organ. But then the swell pedal does the exact same thing, but instead of adding pipes, it just adds more wind to the pipes that are already selected. And what we're kind of doing at the end of Otebie, so I got the pedal right here. Don't know if you can see that, but it's basically like we hold out the chord, we're playing it, and then at the last 10% we go boom, like boom, whoa. We just press that pedal all the way forward, but like slowly, all the way forward, boom. And that needs to just be, like, we just need to have more air for that moment, because, I mean, like, dude, a pipe organ, it's, like, often described as the instrument that is closest to resembling the power of God in one instrument. Such a powerful instrument, and I do believe that's what we're trying to replicate here. Go online, there's a YouTube channel named Paul Fay, and I think he's like Austrian or something like that, but he plays organs all the time, and he has some amazing music. Check out some of his organ music, because a lot of it kind of goes, a lot of that organ music kind of applies to this, especially with controlling dynamics that much and having that much power and still having full control over it. It's pretty amazing. So check him out, Paul Fay. Very, very good organ music. And I mean, I just love pipe organs anyways. One of my favorite instruments besides trombone. But yes, Otebie, I'm very, very happy with. Eternidad. This piece is also a very, very lovely one, and I remember listening to it the first time. It was actually 4th of July, listening to it the first time. I remember Brooks was talking about it in the Cats group chat, and I decided, like, hey, this seems like a pretty sweet song, let's listen to it. And then I remember listening to the recording and just thinking, like, how are we going to sound like them? This Filipino choir I've never heard about by the name of Jeremiah Jimboy Cali Singh. I mean, I've never heard of this guy, I've never heard of this choir, and then I never hear anything about the Philippines. But getting to know this song was definitely a very nice experience. At first, I mean, a little bit rough coming back from winter break, trying to just grind sectionals. Kind of got to me, it's like, okay, alright, well, we're singing Eternidad sectionals, who cares, right? Well, as we were able to get closer and closer to having to actually perform the song, getting better and better and better, finally starting to put in the emotional aspect to it, that's when it got very, very good. And I'm very pleased with this song, and getting to know the message behind it, getting to know how important it is to you guys, to everyone in choir, to me, to the entire audience around there, to come and hear this song. It's going to be a great experience, and it has been, singing this song with you guys. Some things I'd like to critique about. Well, first, let me start. Some things that I really like what we did. of course, I mean, at the beginning, it was just such a cool feeling. It's like, yeah, we're singing Eternidad now. In the league performance, I mean, we started off and we were just kicking, we were going. I mean, this is dedication. We're marching to heaven. The emotional contrast between that and going to the second Mi Vida section, basically the polar opposite. I mean, it was so good to hear all that contrast. Of course, we can still do more. And I know we're going to be able to drill that into us by the time Steak comes. We're going to definitely be able to take the hearts of anybody who happens to be in the room. That's kind of what this song does. Very happy to feel that energy in League behind all the moments of it. Another thing we did very well is that sopranos and the soprano soloist Alex, they're really able to kind of hold their floor down. A lot of the times, like when they're going up to the high B, I can't sing it very good, but it's like it's like they always seem to scoop it. And I mean, it's a really hard note to not scoop that from what I imagine, but a lot of the times, yeah, it would be swooped. And it's like, oh, couldn't quite get it. But no, you guys went straight to it. And sometimes there's also like the lower mezzo voices. Sometimes there's like a few people going flat, and it's like, oh no, that chord's not locking. That chord's not locking. But no, I mean the chord locked. Most of the chords locked in the soprano and alto. Basically, uppers did very good, and I mean, Alex just took the stage, took the floor in her solo. I mean, if I had something like that, I'd probably freeze up in front of like, oh, this is League, this is my solo. I'd probably freeze up, but no, she did not freeze up, and I mean, that was just such a valuable asset to this song. I mean, having a soloist to it just added so much rather than just choir. It's like, hey, now there's one very talented individual singing, so hands off to Alex. And then another thing we were doing very well is that we were able to kind of balance between, so when we got to the Payro Deus section, it was the higher upper voices backed off for a second because now they're not as important. Now we're important. Men are important at this part. And we were able to kind of hold our floor there as well. And it's like, I like how it starts on that B natural, pero, and then my part, pero te guste, and then tenors go, pero te guste. I like how they break off into that, I think it's called oblique motion. They kind of break off and shape it a little bit. That was really nice. A lot of the times, sometimes tenors, it's like, oh, they sound like high schoolers, and it's like, oh, they're not quite getting up to that D natural. No, tenors did also very good. It must have been the emotion in the room. All the higher voices seemed to do a lot better when there was a little bit more pressure on them. Surprisingly, I am not a higher voice, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. But anyways, that was really nice. And I know Grace was on you guys a lot about that, especially during V Parade. It's like, guys, back down. We need to hear this important voice. I mean, yeah, dude, we were able to back down. We were able to kindly shut up and dance, according to Mr. Long's words. Except we weren't really quite dancing, but you know what I mean. Then some things that I want to be fairly critical of in this song. That, first of all, bass berries, when we have the no, it's do 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 do. Basically, when we hold a bunch of notes straight, it sounds kind of loses its intention. So I was kind of talking about the doo-doo section, but there's also the part where you go, Mr. Long was kind of talking about how we were just going, in that part, even though we were still kind of quiet. He was wanting us to, or maybe it was Zilke, but he was wanting us to have more intention when we sing that. So, junto con el Señor Jesucristo por eternidad. Having more intention in singing that rather than sounds like just poking you with the more junto con el Señor Jesús. Kind of a lot of this song, that's why I have this thing. A lot of this song reminds me of an orchestral strings section. So you got violin, viola, cello, bass. A lot of this reminds me a lot of orchestral strings. And I mean, what's cool is like, I mean, sometimes in like 2D sections where you like the do 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 do. Sometimes that's appropriate, especially kind of at the beginning, or definitely Bach. Do, 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 do. I can't play cello that. I can't play cello that fast. Especially Bach, where that string of pearls really comes in and just the do 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 do. But I think when basses are doing I definitely think that's bows. Wait, no, it's the. You could kind of sway back and forth. Of course, I'm not a cello player, so I can't make it sound as symphonic as I'd like, but you get the idea. Is you can kind of control a lot with that bow, and it's kind of like, I would say, think of a bow, think of a cellist, and a lot of these different parts of the song, just more intention and then more sway, or not necessarily sway, but more phrasing, basically. I could say that pretty much about every song, but more intention when you're singing those stuff, thinking those notes in that section. And then another thing would be, there was still some pitch issues. Of course, kind of as we got quieter, we naturally did get flatter. It wasn't naturally that bad, because it has been pretty bad in the past. We have gone I remember one time we went like an entire half step down. It was just, ooh, not right. I remember I was on you guys once about the perfect fifth that bass and Barry, I think, and then tenors as well, have that when we're holding out that chord. I'm pretty sure you can know what chord I'm talking about. It's like the penultimate chord is like, oh, and then the eternity, the penultimate chord before the eternity. That chord, there's a perfect fifth in the bottom notes, and it's like, I really need to hear more bottom C. So the need to hear more of that note, and then have it ring with the. Of course, that wasn't very in tune, but you get my idea. I want that to ring very, very good, and have that be the pillars below everything else. Even though everything else sounds like it's a G major chord. There's a C chord on top of that, so then that's the fourth degree of the C major scale. Band kids, you know what I'm talking about. But that needs to ring a little bit longer, or not longer, but that needs to ring a little bit better. Especially when we're holding out chords. It's kind of the thing Mr. Long was talking about. I could go so much to about what Mr. Long said. He's a visionary. But when you're holding a chord like that, it's not just like, okay, got it, now what? It's like, can you hear the basses? Can you hear the altos? Can you hear high sopranos on top? You probably could. And can you hear that tenor 2 line? It's basically, it's like, how does this chord sound, rather than, oh, we got it, good. A little bit more of that, because paying attention to the texture of the chord and how each voice blends into it is very, very important. Keep that more into mind in this song. There's not a lot of critical things I could have on this song, really. This song did very, very well as well. And then kind of the last thing I would say is that we're needing a bit more tank for the cadence points as well. I remember when we were about to go into the Mi Vida section, it was kind of like the second Mi Vida, it was kind of like the exact same thing Mr. Long was talking about, where it's like, if you try to breathe right before a cadence point, you're not gonna do very good at all. Like, never breathe before a cadence point, or not have enough air going into a cadence point. That's kind of what we did when we stopped, when we like held out that D major, and then went into the second Mi Vita very gently. He held that out for definitely a bit longer because, as Mr. Long said, if a chord sounds really, really good, hold it for a really, really long time. And then kind of as the chord sounds worse, hold it less. The chord sounded very, very good. When we landed on that cadence point, he held it for a little bit longer, but then it's like, oh no, we haven't held it for that long. I'm out of breath. There we go. There was a lot of people breathing, to say the least. And then when we got into the Mi Vita section, the second Mi Vita, it was clear that Brooks wanted more intimacy during that performance rather than the festival we had before that, because that is like the most intimate O Magnum part of our set is that second Mi Vita. That part needs to be very, very loving. It's a lot of this song kind of goes, or all of our songs kind of goes back to, or like some, not Vipere and Bach, but a lot of what like Otebie in this song kind of does. It's kind of like you're hugging the viewer almost. And like, you ever had someone hug you and it kind of changes a lot of things. It's like you're connected with that person more closely. You feel safer. Biologically, in our heads, your human mind or human caveman mind is saying that this is very much a good thing. You're being protected. This is nourishment almost. Having physical contact with anybody, it's basically saying that you have pack members around you, and if danger were to come, you're more likely to survive. And I mean, your brain should be wired to say that's a good thing because of natural selection. But being hugged by somebody is kind of the feeling a lot of this song, Eternidad, is trying to replicate. We're getting to that very gentle, very intimate sections of the music. We're wanting to have that feeling for the rest of the audience. This is why Brooks says that choir is the best way to serve somebody, because, I mean, we've all been sad before. We've all had rough days. I mean, we've all maybe have, like, who knows, maybe we've lost hope in something or kind of just going through the motions of something. Choir kind of does that for people, makes that emotion just less. Makes that hard emotion way easier to deal with, and it does the same thing as being hugged by somebody, because it's contact with people still. It's people singing, but it's people feeling the same way towards you, and people who just genuinely love each other, love Brooks, love the audience, love the music. Love kind of goes around and circulates in our music, in our choir, between Brooks and all of us. And this song needs a little bit more of that. I think we're all kind of craving a little bit more of that, especially in that second Mi Vita. We're needing just some more face-to-face there. Just more genuine, wholeheartedly love there for somebody else, for the music. And just kind of keep that into mind, the physical contact and the need for nourishment there, and kind of just the desire for someone to tell you it's going to be okay. That's what this song does. And that's what all music should do. That is gentle music. Of course, there's Vipere. I don't think there's much love in that song, to say the least. But you get my point. Music does that so incredibly well, and I'm very happy to sing Eternidad. So, that's my spiel on it.
Who does it be?
Oh, it's you. I figured you'd come by eventually. Here, have a seat right there. Yeah, that works just fine. Oh man, I haven't taken that helmet off in a long time. Anyways, let's talk sight reading. So, at Choir League, our sight reading, rhythmically wise, has been doing pretty good. It was very straight together. There was no lost people. There was no confusion between T's and Ta's. Rhythmically, we did pretty good. However, on our 2-part exercise and our 4-part exercise, we didn't do all that great. Especially in the 2-part exercise where soprano and altos were given the hard part, and I feel pretty bad. But at the same time, there are some measures we can put in place to where we can not do that at state. One of these ways to kind of combat that, because I know from what I remember, there was a jump between a D, an F sharp, and then to a G in the soprano alto sight reading for the 2-part exercise. And I remember the judges were saying soprano and altos were getting kind of lost in that, and then some people kind of dropped out from what I remember. So some things to kind of take into mind here is that there is one website that Brooks has posted in the Google Classroom once, and it was called Toned Deer, or just Toned Deer. No, get your hand down. Stop. It's called Toned Deer, and there is some exercises in there that kind of help with that. One of them is interval training, and Brooks has talked about that before. And it's the exact same thing we did with the intervals quiz, where we had the minor second, major second, minor third, major third, perfect fourth, the list goes on. That is a really, really helpful exercise for sight reading. So whenever you can, every once in a while, but at the same time, do make it consistent as you can. Even if it's just 5 minutes, try to look at one of those exercises and try to see how many questions you can get right. And then just try to see how repetitive you can make it, to where you can pretty easily guess some intervals and guess it correctly. A lot of what the interval training does is going to help you when you come into those tricky parts in the sight readings, because knowing how different intervals sound compared to once another is pretty important in this context. Because, I mean, if you don't know how a major third sounds, and like, for example, when you're going to that D to F sharp, if you're just singing da da, so there's like, if you have no idea what it's supposed to sound like, but you kind of have some sort of idea, basically, if you're not all that confident in your intervals, I mean, it's not going to sound good. You're going to sound lost. Interval training is a very, very good asset in order to be training for sight reading, and incorporating that into our practice is very, very helpful. I highly suggest it. Another thing, which is kind of on the more challenging side of things, so instead of doing interval training, you can actually go to pitch training as well. You can start really simple with only like only 3 notes. Like you could start with just C, D, and E on the same website, mind you. You can start with 3 notes, and I think the exercise is called perfect pitch, and you can try to basically guess a note. So like you'll hit start quiz and it'll play a random note. It's like, hey, what is this? Is this an E, D, or a C? If you have those notes selected before you start the quiz. If you can get even like remotely good at that, that is perfect. That is spot on for what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish in sight reading, because sight reading, it's basically just quizzing you on what you know and like how experienced you are musically and how experienced your ear is as well. Because, I mean, if you could pick out different intervals but also pick out notes at the same time, that is perfect. That is just perfect. And you will do so much well in the sight readings. So basically what my point is the Tone Deer website and the 2 exercises I was talking about, the interval training and the perfect pitch training, if you could incorporate that, like even just 5 minutes into your practice sessions, you will become incomprehensibly better at sight reading. And those exercises are just really, really, really helpful in this scenario. So that's my advice for sight reading. Other than that, I mean, it's just showing up in the mornings. I know jazz people can't, and Jazz people tend to do a lot better though, because jazz people, it's basically more music, but every single morning. So jazz people don't really have to worry about that. But I'm saying just kind of anybody else really, who doesn't go to sight readings that often. I mean, not much of an excuse there, pal. Start going to the sight readings, because those, I mean, that's the best way you're going to get better, trust me. Because the website, you can only get so much out of that, but what Brooks teaches during sight reading, that is important, and that is good. But if you can't make it to sight reading, like if you actually have something going on, or you're in jazz, and or you're in whatever, I mean, I don't even know if there's any other 0 period classes, try tonedeer.com with the interval training and the perfect pitch training. And there's some other stuff too, kind of more on the nerdy side. There's chord training, where it's like, hey, play this chord and quiz you on what you know. And that's kind of a little out there. It's fun though. But just the interval training and the perfect pitch training is just going to be perfect for this. And go to sight readings. Sight reading is cool, and I think by state that we got this. Just consistency in your practice, and just being able to hear. I mean, playing another instrument, playing piano, just kind of for fun, or I mean, picking up some sort of instrument. I mean, if you're in band, you're probably pretty good at sight reading. But I mean, if you can find something, to play, an instrument would help too. But my main point here is tonedeer.com. It is perfect, and go to sight readings. What are you looking at? Why are you still here? Out! Get out! Out!